Welcome to Kermie the Angels. My name is Dr. Kermie Wohlenhaus, and I'm an angelologist. I'm also a clairvoyant, and I'm also an author, and I do presentations about angels. Tonight's a very special night. It's very sad because Access Tucson is coming up for a city council vote to see if there's going to be some funding still for them, and so we're all crossing our fingers. But I wanted to do this show because so many have asked. Kermie, you interview so many people. We know all about your guests, but we don't know anything about you. I get this a lot. They'll say, please tell us more about what you do and about the show and different things like that. So tonight I have asked Gail Kushner to be here. This is what she does. She interviews, and she has a book, My Psychic Search. And let me get my information off of there. And what Gail does, and you may have seen the show when she was here. Gail, welcome. I'm so glad you're here tonight.
Thank you.
She interviews psychics and clairvoyants and healers and lots of different people because she wanted to know, how do they do this? Why do they do this? What happened to them that is, I don't know, I guess different, or why are they called to do this work, I guess? Is that true?
And what gives people the ability to have this kind of communication with people that I can't see? So I was always curious about it.
So I asked her to come in and ask me some questions. She's been wanting to interview me for some time now. And I said, well, let's do it on the TV show. And that would be really good so that everyone could hear what she's got to say. And so, anyway, so welcome.
Thank you.
So go ahead and ask me a question.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the most obvious first question. Your name, Kermie. What's the history of your name?
My father's name is Kermit. I was named after him. It's an old Gaelic name. And it was interesting because once I was living in Boulder, Colorado. I wasn't having a great day, and it was several years ago. And there was this huge baby name book that was at the counter, and it was displaced. At that time, they used to have bookstores in supermarkets. They don't too much anymore. Anyway, and I looked it up. I looked up Kermit and Kermie, and it means free woman solely responsible to God.
Wow, that's apt.
It perked me up for the day, and I thought, yes, that's my purpose. Spiritual.
I didn't realize that it was a name that was that common. I had not heard it until I met you.
And I use it a lot because a Kermie is not very common, except for Kermit the Frog, and Miss Piggy, of course, called Kermit Kermie. And so people know now a little bit more about it, but it kind of is a standalone name. And so when I was in Portland to take a class, because I knew I was going to be interviewed, and I was being interviewed on TV and radio and different things about angels, because I'm an angel communicator and teach a lot about that I needed to know more about camera shots and graphics. And so I took a class at Portland Community Media. And they said, does anybody have an idea for a show? And I'm just like, yeah, I do. And they said, well, what's the name going to be? And I thought, oh, I need a name. I said, oh, how about Kermie the Angels? And because that's pretty out there. That's kind of what it is. And so, and then when I moved to Tucson, I had several, I was on for several years. It was a whole year of this show. It was a whole hour of this show. And I had crew, I had camera people, directors, graphic people, sound people. I had to have it catered. It was just quite a production. And when I got here and I saw, oh, this is just a nice desk and I can do everything from here, I thought, oh, good, thank you, God, for bringing me here. I came to Tucson to write books, I was very busy doing a lot of readings. I was at the School of Angel Studies teaching. Well,
let's get back to another basic question, and that is about your relationship with angels. Have you always seen angels? Could you do this as a child, or have you always communicated with them?
I was clairsentient as a child. Like when I would go to school, I'd have to come home and kind of just lay down. I was so drained. I didn't know that you could actually contain your energy and not have other people's energy imprinted on you. I was very sensitive, and my mother would always say, you need to get a little bit of a shell, because I was so sensitive. And so that has served me well. And so I began hearing, I did get called early on in my backyard into some sort of spiritual work. I didn't know. I didn't want to, it wasn't traditional spiritual work, but it was kind of non-traditional. And so, yes.
And so then as a young child, you were able to communicate with angels?
No, I didn't necessarily. I had an angel collection, but it wasn't like, I didn't know. I just, you know, what was happening, you just kind of, until you know somebody that does this stuff, you just kind of think it's normal for you to talk to spirit and talk to the tree spirits and talk to your dog and talk to, you know, people on the other side. And I really liked, and I love the experiential part of talking to spirit, and I wanted to do that.
So in addition to talking to angels, what else are you speaking with? Are you talking to spirit guides? Are you talking to divine energy? Are all those things? Okay.
Yes, and I teach about that too. Spirit guides have been human before, and so they are usually have the personality of when they last had their incarnation. And so if I'm doing an angel reading, I like the angels because they're a little bit higher up and they have lots of love. And they're so sweet. They're just sweet. But if you talk to Uncle Harry over here and he's got a big old, you know, cigar out of his mouth, he's still Uncle Harry. And so it's kind of like, you know, I may not have liked Uncle Harry before, you know, or you may not have or something. And so I don't necessarily, but in an angel reading, they do come through.
So you're talking to spirit guides, which have lived a human life and have crossed to the other side and are now guiding people. And you're talking to deceased relatives like Uncle Harry, but you're also talking to the angels, which have not lived in a human life. Is that right?
That's correct. They're a different species created by the divine to be between divine and creation. So they've never been human before. Now, a lot of people will say at a funeral, you know, if a granddaughter is there and their grandmother had just passed, that now you have a guardian angel. Well, I don't say that's not technically true. I just say you want somebody better than grandma. You know, you want somebody from your birth on through death, and you want somebody that tugs on the hem of the divine. So you want, you know, grandma's great, and she will be part of your spirit guide group. She will be part of that, but she's not technically your guardian angel.
So do you see angels mainly as messengers? Yes?
No, yes, they are. They're great messengers. They bring great prophecy. They're also healers. They bring healing. They also can have fun with you. It's not like if an angel shows up, they could be walking with you in Disneyland or something, because they like to enjoy life as well with you. It's kind of odd. There's a part in the Bible that talks about be nice to strangers because it could be an angel unawares. And so that's really important to know that when the book of Tobit, Archangel Raphael walked with Tobias and he even helped him get a spouse, helped him with some healing, helped him with all kinds of stuff. So they have different job descriptions depending on the person's soul mission. So they call us their charge. So they're very excited when we do something that's in alignment with our heart. So they love that. And so they're all clapping and happy and they're elbowing each other and said, my charge, you know, finally got out of that bad career and went into what they really wanted to do or something like that. So
so it's like they're cheerleading for us.
They are. They are. And they can't, we have free will, so they can't divert our paths too much, but they can kind of let us know that there's another way over here. They'll illuminate this other way and make it difficult on here. But they will guide us, but not do it for us.
So do people come to you for readings?
Yeah.
And what's that like? How long does a reading take?
Usually if it's a person, it's usually about a half an hour, and I can do it in person, I can do it over the phone. I've done email readings. I have books that I have sold and that are in other countries, so I have a fan base. I have a Spanish book, well, my first book. So let me just kind of show you this. is I teach about how to talk to and actually listen to your guardian angel. And there was only so many people that I could tell about how to do this. So I thought maybe I can get this work into a book form. And so I have a little publishing company called Kermie the Angels Press. And so I self-published this book. I'm also a graphic designer, so I did a lot of the work on it with Ghost River Images. And then I have an agent, a foreign agent, and so it is now in Spanish. And so that's really great, how to talk to your guardian angel. And then also French. And then now I just got it, a book cover from German.
I think that is very exciting that you're going worldwide with this. It's great that people have access to this information. And I know that in addition to your books, you also have a website where you talk about some of this. You talk about the things that you do and the kinds of services that you provide. I think it's great that there's international access. The World Wide Web is a wonderful thing. Did you want to talk about some projects that you're working on right now, or do you have additional books and things coming out?
I do. I'm also doing some films on
really
angels in Tucson, angels in Portland, angels in different cities. For the media, for TV shows, local TV shows. Also, I just finished and am working on. Let me show you this one. This part of my studies, in my Ph.D. studies, are angels in sacred text. And so I have this one book. Oh, look at me. That's so terrible. So I do a reference guide on angels in the Bible. So I have the complete reference guide of angels in the Bible, angels in sacred texts. So I have, an angelologist.
That's just where I was going to go. I wanted to talk a little bit about all the work and the study that you've done. So tell us exactly what an angelologist is.
They study and research angels, and I talk to them as well as I study sacred texts. I study also other people's experiences. You should see my angel library. I mean, it's my whole house practically. Because anybody that has published a book or an article, I love to read about them because somebody's experience may be different, and there are some that are very different, and to put all that together, it's kind of like if somebody from Minnesota and somebody from Key West talk about America, it's going to be a little bit different. And so it's nice to get as many pieces of the puzzle as possible.
Can you tell me a little bit about your formal education in angels?
I have a bachelor's. I also have a master's degree in seminary, a traditional seminary. It was very liberal. And about spirituality, and then I was going to get my Ph.D. studies, and if Harvard Divinity School would have taught me how to talk to angels, I would have gone there, but they're very much into theology. And so I went to kind of a Hogwarts kind of school, an esoteric school. It's the College of Metaphysical Studies, and I sat at the feet of mediums and psychics and different folks, and they taught me how to take my clairvoyance and my subtle senses and develop them, and so that I could actually talk to spirits and to angels. I sat in a lot of dark rooms and sat at the feet of a lot of mediums, for sure.
Well, that's kind of what I do. I interview people to get their different points of view and to find out what they know, and then I try to assimilate all that information myself. But I understand you actually have a Ph.D. in this.
Yes, I do. That's
pretty exciting. I don't think most people realize you can get a Ph.D. in angel studies. So I think that's just great.
And that's these books, Angels in Sacred Texts, that is out of my studies for my Ph.D. I also have another doctorate, a doctorate in divinity, too. So I wanted to make sure that I was as equipped to do this work as possible, that I just didn't have an angel experience. And not that those who have angel experiences don't have tons to offer, but many times people will come to me with questions from their upbringing and their religion, and I can say, I know about that. I know exactly, because I have in Angels in Sacred Texts, angels in the Book of Mormon, angels in the Quran, and the Quran and Islam has a different concept and construct about what angels are. Like the idea that we have two angels, one's a bad angel, one's a good angel, comes from Islam.
Really?
And we have kind of made that into our popular belief in Christianity, or with just in our thinking about angels.
How interesting. So there are these are in books all around the world, all the sacred texts.
Pretty many of them. Now, Confucianism and Taoism do not have angels in there, but they do have, in Eastern religions, there are winged beings that they talk about, and there's art. I have a whole presentation on guardian angels, of when the first guardian angel was seen, and we have art on a cave that has wings. It was a winged woman, and at that time there wasn't talk about angels. It was, when it was discovered, it was talking about the goddess. So they said this was the winged goddess, and the angelologists are saying, wait a minute, this is a winged woman. This might be an angel. So it comes from way back when.
Okay, so let's bring it back to earth a little bit more now and talk about just regular people. Can regular people develop this ability to talk to their angels? How do they do that?
Well, it's great. That's why I published the book, actually, is to help people to, and it's a series of steps. And what it does is it expands our intuition and our subtle senses. We all have the capacity to talk to an angel. If you can close your eyes and think about what you did in the last 2 hours, just briefly, and see yourself getting in and out of the car, or cleaning house, or doing the dishes, or something like that, you have the capacity to talk to your angel. If you have your imagination intact, and you can. So everybody has that. And it's the same thing that when it says, oh, take that water out the door, or change lanes now because the one in front of you is kind of odd. I think they're signaling left, but they might go right, and sure enough, they go right. We get that all the time. We have subtle senses. They're intuitive hits. But to develop that and to have it focused so that you're talking to your guardian angel. And this book, too, can also be used for for spirit guides, for grandma, anything. So it's all available. It's it's on my website, but it's also at Amazon, and it's very available. Libraries have it, so it's good.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you can distinguish the information coming from your angels with the information coming from your imagination? How do you know you're not just making things up?
And that's a really good question, because you think that you're making things up until they, and I do the exercises to say, now you'll think you're making this up because it seems to be in your voice, but they will say things that you wouldn't say to yourself, and especially if you start arguing. Okay, so tonight I say, well, what do you want me to wear? And they said pink. And I said, well, how about pink with the red jacket? And because I always argue. Well, if I was with me, I would just say, oh, I'll wear pink with the red jacket. But since I asked and they said pink, and then they always want to go back to, okay, you can wear the red jacket, but we want you to wear pink. You just get that constant kind of nudging in there.
So you learn to distinguish what's coming from your imagination versus what's being repeatedly given to you.
You do.
Yeah.
And you'll get messages, like signs. Like, oh, I really think it's time for me to quit this job, or to get out of that relationship, or to fall in love, or something like that.
So do you find that you are talking to angels all the time, or do you just have to shut it down to live your normal life?
I keep mine fairly open to me, because I really rely a lot on inspiration. And every day I kind of put some light around me, and so that I'm not reading everybody, and I kind of bring it down. So when I'm doing a reading, and I'll put that in the book as well, I have a prayer that I say, and it's of the light. I don't, once you say angels of light, angels of the divine, anything like that, there's no way you're going to get any darkness in there, which I really tell people, make sure that you set your intention very clearly, that, and that's why I open with prayer, is that the prayer states my intention that I want to talk to angels of light who are in alignment with the divine and my highest good and those around. But then but I don't stay open. I kind of bring it down. So when I'm through with a reading, I'll just kind of look at it like, like a curtain or something comes over, and I'll just say, thank you. And then I'll kind of do a namaste with people, and I'll just say, God bless you. And when I do this, I kind of cut their energy, give it back to them. So they've given me the honor of touching their energy and talking to their angels. So that's been good. And my job, Gail, is to be as clear as I can without coming through my filter. So when they show me like a palm tree and it seems to be in the Caribbean, I don't say, oh, you're going on vacation, because that's what it means to me. I ask constantly. I'm interviewing constantly while I'm talking to the person what I'm seeing. I'm saying, okay, what does this mean? Why is it sunset? It's a green palm tree. It's not a cottonwood. What does this mean for this person? And so they'll talk a lot about that and say they're at the end of this beautiful vacation and they need to pay attention to that last day. Or they may say they're at the end of a wonderful chapter and they're going into a next one, but it's going to be like a new dawn or something like that.
So I think that's very interesting that you open the readings with some kind of a protective prayer to make sure the energy is clear. And then you sort of are talking to the person and interviewing. It sounds like you're hearing answers. You're also seeing things. You're also knowing things. It's interesting how it all comes together.
It's very interesting. One time I was, I've done all-day readings, and sometimes if I do all-day readings and I'm talking to everybody's angels and then I go out to dinner, I'll know who's going to order what in the next tables. I have to sit against the wall because until I just kind of get back into the world again, because I'll read all the wait staff and I know who's doing what where and all that, and I'm just like, no, I don't want too much information. So I have to kind of do that. But also...
That's good you're able to close it down like that when you need to. That's good. I have a question for you about some of the work that you're doing right now, not the reading so much as the things that you are coming up with. I know you're working on more books and you're working on, I think, CDs. Can you tell me more about that?
I do have a couple of CDs that I've worked with Caitlin Hart. She's a musician. They're on the website and you can kind of hear a little bit, but they're on hold because I want to add more. And I just haven't had time to get... you know, everything I've been doing. So they're a little bit on hold, but we're getting back to that soon. But I'm also working, and I wrote a book on the Virgin Mary.
Oh, how interesting.
I know. I say at the beginning of this manuscript, I say, why am I talking to the Virgin Mary? Because I'm an angelologist. And so one time I asked her to go shopping. And so we had this great time, and I got the best deals ever. So anyway, I'm writing. I have an agent, and so they're dealing that. I'm also working on travels with the Virgin Mary. I'm going to sacred sites. And what's nice about it, what brings it all together, is that Mary is called the Queen of the Angels. And so there's a real nice kind of dovetailing of the angels and Mary that's happening with all that too. So
well, that sounds great.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah, so you're really expanding your reach and expanding your abilities and the information that you're bringing through. I think it's a great service to the people that contact you or that are looking for your work, because you're getting it out to people, and that's what's really important. I wish you luck with that book.
Well, thank you so much for, and I think we're coming to the end of the show, so I want to just say thank you, and my website, KermieTheAngels.com. Thank you all for being my audience and being here. Thank you. Good night. God bless.
Good night.